Welcome back, everybody, to another week of entrepreneurship tips and tricks. And today we're talking with Mrs. Nikisha Bass of Nix Antigua. Hello, Mrs. Bass.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to our viewers as well.
Okay, so Nix Antigua. What is Nix Antigua?
All right, so if I describe Nix Antigua, it's a small handmade bag company. So I sell mainly pouches, crossbody bags, and clutches. Those are my main items.
Mm,
I have ventured into bigger items such as totes or bigger crossbody bags, but I think I really like being a small bag company, and it's all handmade. We use fabrics that are from individual artists. So they purchase online. So I don't have any local artist designs, and hopefully we can probably get there someday. But you don't go into the store and find the fabrics that I have. The artist designs
mm.
them and they sell them on the website, so they print to order.
Ooh,
So
very nice.
my motto is just simple, well-made products. No pretense, no fluff. That's what I go by.
I love it. I love it. So what gave rise to Nix Antigua? I mean, did you always have a love of crafting, or was it just like, you decided one day this is something I'm going to learn to do?
I love crafting. I mean, high school, which was comprehensive, craft was one of my favorite subjects. And then every
Mm,
time I made something, I sell it. Even in school, I'd make something, and then there was a daycare just next to us, and that lady, she would just buy almost everything that I made because I always made well. And so I just had that love for crafting. So sitting down one day on YouTube, and I saw this lady sew a maxi dress, so simple, so easy. And I just said to myself, no, I can do that. I mean, I did clothing, so I had
mhm,
sewn a skirt before, but that was only thing sewing I had done during school. Convinced
mhm.
myself I could sew, went online, went on Amazon, bought an 80 US sewing machine. I didn't have a dining table or anything. I used my side table because you had a set with three tables. So I had a side table, and that was it. I never got the maxi dress done, and my sisters are still waiting, but I was able to accomplish my bag. So I don't sew clothes. I focus on bags.
So why bags particularly? What made you say, okay, yeah, bags is the thing?
I think they were simple, they were small, and they were easy to
Mhm,
make. I'm not really sure what video I watched because that's one of the very first starter projects that anybody shows you on YouTube when you're starting to sew, because it's
mhm,
easy. It's a square, it's four
mhm.
lines, and I walked with me. I'm gonna show you my first ever bag that I made. Every time I think to throw it away, I say no. I need to remember the first
Ooh, I
ever
love
bag
it.
I made, and it was awful. It is sewn poorly. It wasn't a good zipper. It's all crooked, and I was so elated. I was like, oh my gosh, I made something. And my office manager, she's just as terrible as me. She was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. It looks so good, and it is terrible. But it's really great to have people that cheer you on. So we went from this with animal prints or African
Mhm,
prints that you could buy locally, and then we kind of
mhm,
elevated our fabric choices a little bit. Now, this isn't exactly the fabric that I go with, but I just had this, so I
mhm,
grabbed it. And so
mhm.
we kind of elevated a little bit more. We use some metal zippers now. We use some little, wrong side, leather pulls. And yeah, that's where we are now. And they're functional.
Nice.
I think more than anything is the function, because you slip these into your bag. You have like maybe a sanitary napkins or just different ways to organize your bag, and people really love the versatility of just having these little pouches to go.
Do you do like custom bags? So like if I had a fabric that I really like, could I bring it to you and have you make me a custom bag?
I have had that question quite a few times. I don't
Mhm,
necessarily focus on custom items because I sew, but I sew from patterns. So I could purchase a
mhm,
pattern. I don't often make
mhm,
up my patterns. I love purchasing
mhm,
patterns. It's already there, the sizes, the cuts, everything. So if you tell
mhm,
me you want me to use your fabric to make one of the patterns that I have, now that's okay.
mhm.
I can do that for you. But if you're going to show
Nice.
me a bag and say, can you make me this bag? I'm going to say, no, actually, I can't make you that bag. I can't cut it for you from scratch and stitch it together. So
Mhm.
that's where I am with that.
Understandable. Very much understandable. But I can imagine that this is a quite laborious kind of job that you have here, because not only are you a wife, you're Mrs. Bass, you also have your day job. in accounting, and then you also have Nix Antigua. How are you balancing all of that? How do you find yourself making it through the day and keeping everything in perspective?
So for me, it's quite easy because I like to tell people, and nobody take offense to this, that I don't work slave hours. I work from 8:30 to 3, and that's my full-time job. That's my full-time job. So I generally get home really early and able to
Mhm,
have that time that I need to spend making these items. Also, I only generally used to sew like once a year. It's like during the Christmas season because Nick is
mhm,
island inspired. The tourists tend to really love them for gifts. They're small, they're inexpensive, they grab a pouch for 20 US and they're happy they're taking it back home to their family. So I tend to just
mhm,
sew during the Christmas time. I have quite a bit of local customers who during the Christmas they come to me even before I release and say, Nick, what are you having this year? What do you have? But just because I don't do it continuously throughout the year, it's not that laborious. And I don't have any children yet, so I have all the time in the world. I just got a husband. He's 2 months old, but he's busy with UE. He's busy with UE, so he's not bothered. There's no lack of time happening there.
Okay, so what is your fabric selection process like? I know you say you have a particular site that you go online and they're custom designed, but how do you decide, this is the fabric for this bag?
I generally pouches are so simple and easy, but
Mhm,
I want it to look luxe. I don't want a just a plain soft cotton fabric. And so I
mhm,
decided on a nice linen blend fabric. I fell in love with the linen blend fabric. And so I've been
mhm,
using that for my zipper pouches and for my crossbody bags. But I just found the site released a new fabric. I think it was last year or the year before that, called
mhm,
dogwood denim, which is a nice
mhm,
heavier material. And so I use that for my crossbody bags. And those fabrics are just great for me. I don't have a large selection of items that I produce, and so I don't
mhm,
need to be jumping from fabric to fabric. I think last year I was kind of tired of interfacing. Now pressing linen blend fabric with the iron was so
mhm,
laborious, so tiring. You'd be there for hours interfacing fabric. I got really
mhm,
discouraged and I decided I didn't want to do it anymore. I then decided I'll find a fabric that was easier to work with that needed no ironing. And so I brought out wax canvas last year, which is what my bigger totes were in, just a solid wax canvas.
mhm,
And the fabric on the inside was waterproof, so I didn't have to iron it at all. But the
mhm.
locals didn't take too great to it last Christmas. They were like, "We are the prince. We want the island prince." And so I definitely have to run back to my island prince. But I was in the office one day as well, and something just a light bulb like it just went off. And I went into
Mhm,
one of my groups on Facebook for wholesale bag making, and I just asked, "Does anybody use a heat press? You know what you do for t-shirts?" To
mhm.
interface their fabric. And then just like that, hallelujah, everybody was like, I don't work without it. It was such a game changer. It took the time to
Wow.
interface from this much to this much. And so I have invested in Nick in getting myself a heat press so that
Mhm.
it could be just easier on me because there are times I just literally in front of the the ironing board wanting to cry, just hours interfacing. But I mean, this hopefully this year it'll be so much easier.
Okay, so interfacing is the thing that you put at the back to give it that sturdy feel, right?
Yes, yes, so that it doesn't
Okay.
stretch or pull in different direction when you wash it or put things in there. Yeah, that's interfacing.
Oh, okay. Because
And that I
I
buy
haven't done
locally.
sewing in years, so I was struggling with the terminology there for for a moment. But it
Pellon. Are you
seems
familiar
like
with Pellon?
yes, I'm
Yes,
familiar with
that's yeah,
Pellon. Oh,
Pellon.
it's the
Yeah.
same thing.
Yes,
Interesting.
we just call it
Okay,
interfacing.
nice. So everything that you do for your business, you'd have to import them. How do you find the process of importation? Is it something that is difficult for you to get done? Are there any particular challenges that you've been having?
So I graduated from the University of Google, and so it's not hard to to find items and
Mhm,
importing items are pretty easy because I use Kest import. But there's so
Mm-hmm.
many other of those import companies where you just get a US address, you ship it either via air or via sea. I mainly use sea because it's $5 a pound. And it comes in a couple of weeks. So I don't have any problems in that regard. In terms of all the little bits and pieces that I need, I do tend to spend a lot of time going through Google because I need to get the best prices, because then I have to think about shipping it to Antigua, paying the import duties, and then having it, and then you have to mark up your items and stuff like that. So that part of finding all the little pieces that you need, down to just basic thread, I have to get them online, because what I will find here is more of the clothing thread that's really cheap cotton threads,
Mm-hmm.
and that doesn't show up very well when you're stitching, not for strength or anything. So every little thing, I have to go online, try my best to color match online. When it comes, sometimes it's wrong, you have to go and reorder. But in terms of just bringing them in, it's a
Mm-hmm.
smooth process for me.
Okay. So what type of thread are you using for sewing? Because I know that around here you usually see polyester cotton blends and stuff like that. And I imagine that because it's like bag straps and things like that, you need to have a really sturdy kind of thing. Is it a proprietary secret or is it something that you can share with
No.
us?
No, it's just regular thread. It's just the weight of the thread, I'm realizing. So the thread weight that I tend to use is 50W, so it's 50 weight or something to that effect.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same polyester blend thread. However, it's a
Mm-hmm.
better weight of thread, and so especially when you top stitch, it looks so much nicer if you just use a higher quality thread versus one of the cheaper threads you might find in the store for dollar something, or even online for dollar something. You would see the mark difference. Even now, I think I want to bring back, because I've had people asking me for some of my faux leather clutches that I had done several years ago, and I was thinking to
Mm-hmm.
bring them back. And I thought I have to get better thread to sew that. I have to look for thread that's designed for that, because just doing this top stitch, the
Mm-hmm.
top stitching is what sets your work apart. You can look at it and tell, okay, this bag looks cheap, or this bag looks like quality based on the thread that you use.
Oh, interesting. So, what's next for Nix? Because as a fellow graduate of YouTube University, I realized that when it comes to crafting, sky is the limit. So, what other things are in the pipeline for Nix Antigua?
Well, I love bag making. I think as much as sometimes it stresses me out when I turn a bag inside out, I put my label on there and I close it. I'm really, really pleased. I'm really happy to put it out. So I think for next is just bringing back the island inspired items. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily planning to bring too many big bags, but every year I find a new pattern also to introduce. So hopefully I can bring in some new styles of bags. I can't have the same bag every season, even though it's a
Every.
different print. I don't want to have the same bags every season, because I have the
Mm-hmm.
same customers who come to me religiously, especially when they have gifting and even for themselves. And so hopefully I'll be able to bring out different patterns over time.
Mm-hmm.
That's as much elevation as it's going. But like I said, I don't think I'm bringing back much of the big tote bags in general. It takes a lot of fabric to make them up, and I generally try to keep my price mid range. Once or twice, persons have said my zipper pouches is a little pricey, because let me see if I can bring it in. My
Mm-hmm.
this is just a regular size zip pouch, and I generally sell this for 20 US or 54
Mm-hmm.
EC. And so
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I've heard that it's expensive, but um, the fabric, yeah, the cost of just
The
getting everything
fabric, yeah,
together,
getting everything in
yeah,
there, yeah.
and
So,
putting all the little pieces together, it's a little pricey. So
mm. So how many years have you been doing the bag making?
2015, I think 2015 was the first year I started. Like I said, I started with African print, and so I think
Mm-hmm.
the first year people were buying these pouches for like $18. When I look back at Facebook memories and see the size of the pouch I was selling for $18, because I when I first started making them, I had fabric at home.
Mm-hmm.
I had fabric, I had everything at home. So I literally was just making from what I had. And I was like, oh, $18 um in 2015 was okay. But yeah, we've grown. We've grown quite a
We've
bit.
come a long way since then.
We've come a long way since then, yes.
That's great. So, what advice would you give to other creatives, other, you know, persons who are thinking to themselves, I enjoy doing this particular thing and I would like to be able to kind of monetize this hobby a little bit, what advice would you give to them?
Do it. I say do it because I'm a craft. Like I said, I'm a craft at heart. So there's almost nothing I haven't tried. Well, there's things I haven't tried, but every craft that I have loved doing or tried doing, I have sold it because I have to buy the supplies to make it. One time I was crocheting swimsuits, by pattern, and you crochet it. And then I'll sell it so that I can recoup the money that I put in learning this craft. And then, but I tend to jump from craft to craft. Once I've managed that craft, I go on to the next one. But I would say do it if you're good at it, you're happy with doing it, produce it at a level that people will look at it and not say, oh, somebody made this in their house. You know what I mean? Once you're able
Mm-hmm.
to produce a good item, you sell it at a fair price and
Mm-hmm.
see what you can get from that. It's always good to have a side. For me, I say it's always good to have a side hustle. I remember one time I bought a car. When I bought my first car, I think I had Nix, but I had insurance to pay, and Nix was once a year. I started plaiting hair. I was plaiting my own hair in some Mali twist, and somebody just asked, "Can you plait my hair like that as well?" I had insurance to pay. I started doing Mali twist. I did it for a while, realized, got my insurance money, and then I was done. I was like, okay, I don't do this anymore. It's too laborious. But if you're good at something, definitely find a way to monetize it. That's me.
Right. So what other crafts have you tried so far?
I've done soap making. I've done some soap making. I have some soaps in a little shop. My stepmom has a really cute gift shop in Painters called Kate's Unique Finds, and so she has some of my bags there, the printed
Mm-hmm.
items, and she has some soaps there in another little gift shop in English Harbor because I work out English Harbor.
Mm-hmm.
I have tried. Currently, I'm trying concrete. I want to make my own concrete planters or candle holders and stuff like that. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
working with concrete. um, like I said, I did some crocheting as well. Candle making, that's the only craft that has defeated me. I swear there's something wrong with my nose. I just cannot smell the fragrance when I burn it. It is the first craft that I am defeated at, and I'm almost admitting defeat at this point. But yes, and if you think it, I'll probably try it.
I have to say, I am in love with your can do spirit. And I think it's very important, especially for entrepreneurs. Because as you were saying, you had Nix, you were doing your back, but you had things to do and you weren't afraid to step outside of,
Mm-hmm.
what you thought you could do and do something else to make up the gap. And I think that is a very important lesson for, budding entrepreneurs to learn. I mean, yes, this is your craft and this is the thing that you want to do, but sometimes you have to do a little something else, to help make up so that you can get the thing that you want to do up and off the ground. And I have to tell you, I admire that about you.
But when I was doing that, it wasn't called Nix because my sister loves to tell me anything you do, just call it Nix. And I said to her, no, Nix is a bag company. If I'm going to stray into every other thing that I stray into, it's not Nix. If
Mm,
you're a bag company, remain a bag company, do bags. If you're going to then say, not only do I sew bags, I now make what? What can I think of randomly? I now make tablecloths, and that's all a part of Nix. Well, I guess if it's still sewing, it can still come into to being. But I just do not love when you are a store, say a store, somebody who makes this particular item, and then
mhm,
randomly it's a hair store, just random hair store, and then you see deodorants inside of there. Then you see just random different items. I don't love it, but for me
mm,
mentally, if I'm a bag
mhm,
company, I'm a bag company. I'll make you several different types of bag, but I'm a bag company. So even if you step out, you don't have to step out putting it on your brand, but you can
mhm.
step out doing other things otherwise.
That's true. One should be true to their brand so that people know that when they hear Nix, they think island
They
bags, they
know
think
bag.
quality,
That's
and
right.
not, Nix is a candle that doesn't quite smell like a candle, but
Exactly.
because that could tank your brand. Because imagine
uh,
you would have built your brand name and now you start selling something else randomly and it's not
exactly.
good and now you
Exactly.
get bad
Yeah.
press.
Right.
Okay, so have you considered maybe perhaps exporting your products?
That is one of the things that I would so love to do. The market is so great on the outside. Antigua is really small, but the market is there. But however, I have the shipping. Shipping. I have
Mm,
not figured out how to ship my items out of Antigua. to this date. There was one time I tried to do it when it was off season. I made some bonnets. I think it might have been before COVID. It was off
Mhm.
season, and so I made some bonnets. Everybody was going with these satin bonnets, and so I made some. I sold some here, but I had a lot left over, and so I just started
Mhm.
an Etsy page. That was it. It wasn't on the Nix, but Nix don't make
Mhm.
bonnets. I had a different name, and
Mhm.
I put it on Etsy, and I got quite a bit of orders. There were some in the USA, some in France, some in UK, and I went to the post office. I did it. I told them it'll take a couple of weeks. I did it. And oh my goodness, I had to be refunding people. People were just messaging me, where's my item? Where's my item? It was really, really bad.
Mhm.
I did find out that the post office was having a really hard time with some flooding in Barbados or something like that. But I have
Mhm.
not secured a proper way to get my items out of Antigua. And I think that's a great avenue that all us as small business owners or small entrepreneurs are missing out on.
Mhm. I can imagine that it would cause a problem because for me personally, I would think that a part of the issue would be the whole setting up and the receiving of your monies and things like that because we're not very big on online sales in Antigua. You know, we're still getting used to the credit card machine. Debit card is not accepted everywhere, so I kind of figured that that would be a drawback for you. But
I
I'm happy. I'm happy that it's not. It's easy for you. So if you could look back on yourself, younger Nix, and say one thing to get you going, what would you say to yourself? One piece of
one
advice.
I think this is one piece of advice I can still give myself right now is stay committed. If you're gonna do
Mhm.
it, like do it. Be committed to it because I wanted to upgrade like my logo. I do my own
Mhm.
logos. I've only had two logo changes over
Mhm.
the few years, and I wanted to upgrade my logo. And my husband looked at me and he says, "No, you don't make bags quite enough. You so quickly go off it." And he was like, "No." So I would tell myself, stay committed. If you're doing next, you're doing next. Find this. For me, I think one of the drawbacks is I don't have a store that I put my bags in. And possibly if I had that, then I can continuously make them and stock a shelf, make it and stock a shelf. But I don't do that.
Mhm.
But I'm still learning to stay committed to the craft that I am on.
Okay. And if there's one warning you could give your past self, what would it be?
Um, Honing on what it is you want to do. I know I love trying everything, but you need to just focus on the one thing that you know. I mean, Nix is probably the only thing that has been as profitable for me, something that I have done year after year after year. Every little thing that I've tried, I've kind of
Mhm.
just waned off it. But so if you could just hone in on whatsoever
Mhm.
it is that you're good at, whatsoever it is that's working, and just make it better, that's what I would have that's the warning I would have given myself. Stop straying in so many directions. I mean, even with this wax canvas, I know Nix is an island inspired bag. I got lazy
Mhm.
and I ventured into wax canvas. And last season, I didn't do that great, especially at the tourist market because they
Mhm.
wanted all the printed items. So, say, yeah, tell myself, be warned. Focus on what you know you are.
Okay, so where can we find items made by Nix? Is there a website that we can visit? Is there a number we can call? Where do we go to find Nix Antigua Design?
Okay, so at present, I am online, Instagram. So
Mhm.
if you Instagram Nix Antigua, you will find
Mhm.
me. So you'll see the photo. So I am 100% online. I do the photo shoot, take pictures of the items, I load them up. I generally, during the season, have a Shopify website, but as you had
Mhm.
mentioned, people are not so great on the online buying. I mean, some years it's worth, and then other years they just refuse to purchase. But generally,
Mhm.
during the season when I'm sewing, you would find me having an online store. But I can't give you, it would be nixantigua.com, but it's not running right now because it's off season. So you just find me on
Mhm.
Instagram. I'm also on Facebook, same name, Nix Antigua. But I'm also have some items in, like I said, my stepmom has a pretty little gift shop in Painters. So she stocks
Mhm.
um, whatever items I have there. So she has some crossbody bags. She has some island clutches. I can't remember if she
Mhm.
still has any pouches, but you can find them there. But generally, you would just go on Instagram and you just call me, tell me,
Mhm.
Nick, this is what I need, and we deliver, or you can collect.
Well, Mrs. Mass, I'm so happy that we had the time to talk today. I'm glad that you were able to escape for a few minutes to talk to us. I'm sure that the people of Antigua and Barbuda enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you so much. It was really great to be here. Thank you.
Okay. See you next week, everybody. Bye.
Bye.